Fox 11 Newsroom in the weather office in the Severe Weather Center, and this is basically an update on Winter Storm Daisy. We just decided to name this earlier this morning, and not typically the way that we go about naming storms. This is something that Pete was talking about over the course of this morning. You know, normally we look for a ton of ice or snowfall amounts of 5 inches or more. This one more has to do with the timing and how it's going to impact your day, because amounts, we're not hitting that 5-inch criteria. I think most spots going to end up with a slushy 2 to 4 inches, at least through the Fox Valley and out to the lakeshore. There are going to be higher amounts north and west of the Fox Valley, but close to home, our main population centers, we're looking at a few slushy inches. The problem with this is that the snow and the winds, which are going to be gusting up to potentially 45 miles per hour, and some spots maybe even a little bit higher than that, are going to be falling this afternoon, and it's going to be falling likely for your morning or for your afternoon commute. Now, many of us have already kicked over to snow. That includes here in Greenbay. It's been snowing here since at least mid-morning, but most of that hasn't been sticking to the ground. It's been melting, at least on the road surfaces. So things have mostly been wet and slushy. So I think that's really why we're kind of only going to see a slushy couple of inches. There are winter weather advisories in effect now for the Fox Valley and the lakeshore, and there have been winter weather advisories north and west of the Fox Valley since last night. And if you go far enough north and west, that includes Florence, Forest, and Langlade counties, there are winter storm warnings, and there are winter storm warnings back into Wausau and Stevens Point, just west of our area too. So that's what we're looking at when it comes to those winter alerts, and those, at least for us, those are in effect until 9 o'clock this evening. So that's what we're looking at in terms of those alerts. Looking at our future track, most spots, if you haven't kicked over to snow, you will be kicking over to snow as we work on through the next few hours here. So even along the lake shore, where I think things at the moment are mostly rain, you are going to switch over to some snow. I'm going to set this in motion, see if we can get that clicker to work. So this is 1 o'clock. You see that it's still snowing across almost the entire area. Through the rest of the afternoon, we are going to continue to see that snow. This is now 5 o'clock. That snow's still falling, although it might become a little bit more scattered, might start to lighten up a little bit, but nonetheless still coming down. And as we work through 8, 9 o'clock, maybe a few lingering snow showers at that point in time. And I do think that we are going to see that snow wrapping up not too long after that point, and through the rest of the overnight hours, we're likely only going to be seeing those skies clearing on out. In terms of what and all night long, so that's where the most impressive totals are going to be. But that rain snow line over the course of this morning just dove off to the east, and that's why we saw that changeover from rain to snow. A little closer up look on our storm tracker shows that most locations are now getting picked up as snow in that blue coloration. That includes Greenbay, Appleton, Oshkosh, down into Fond du Lac. And as you take a look at the lakeshore, it looks like Sturgeon Bay down into Kewaunee County, Algoma, Manitowoc, Two Rivers. Looks like still rain at this point in time as we approach midday. Still showing the green coloration there, although I wouldn't be shocked if it's mixing in with some snow there along the lakeshore. You see some of that bright banding, those higher returns. That's likely what we're seeing there, right along the lake, some of that heavier precipitation. And that snow is going to continue to pivot around this system. And one thing I actually like to use in situations like this where you're not really sure what exactly is reaching the surface, because the radar is not always foolproof. What I like to look at is visibility. And if you notice, the visibility from the Fox Valley out inland and up into the Northwoods is down at 1 mile, 2 miles, and that tells me that there's a lot of snow in the atmosphere, which actually cuts down on that visibility. The sensors just not able to see too far. But along the lakeshore, Sheboygan, Manitowoc, Sturgeon Bay, there's definitely precipitation still falling there, but the visibility is much better, which tells me that it's probably just rain, which does not obscure your view in the distance as much as what snow does. So we are going to see lakeshore spots likely kick over to snow over the next couple hours, but right now at this moment, right around noon, still rain. As we take a look at our future track snow totals, we are still looking like we're going to be seeing somewhere in that 2 to 4 inch range, maybe a little bit less. It's going to be kind of slushy and heavy as well. But the problem is when it's falling, it's going to be falling right during your afternoon and evening commute over the course of the day today. And those wind gusts are also going to start picking up at around 40 up to 45 miles per hour, just howling in out of the northwest. And you see there, it's right through the heart of the afternoon into the evening. That's when the winds will be strongest. That's when people are out on the roads trying to come home from work, getting home from school. So just make sure you're slowing down. giving yourself a lot of time to get to where you need to go, because those road conditions could deteriorate very quickly, especially if our temperatures just drop off another couple degrees. We have not seen those winds get up too high here. You can see those peak gusts today are still up around 30 or 35 miles per hour in Greenbay and in Fond du Lac, but out to the west, that's where those stronger winds are at the moment. Wind gusts have already topped 40 miles per hour in La Crosse, Eau Claire, and Hayward. In Iowa, we've had a 54 mile per hour gust in Mason City. I do think the winds may be a little bit stronger over southern Wisconsin than what we're going to see here. Could see gusts up around 50 miles per hour in Fond du Lac and Sheboygan off to the south. Here, I'm thinking more like 40, 45 miles per hour, but still very strong winds. And even if with a wet, sticky snow, it could lead to a lot of issues out there on roads. Now, moving forward, things are pretty quiet. As we take a look at the extended forecast, temperatures will fall back down close Getting any questions on this live stream from anyone? Not really anything just yet. Yeah, so you really just, again, Winter Storm Daisy, it's not really the snowfall amounts, again, that are the problem with this storm. The problem is the fact that those amounts are going to be arriving right when a lot of people are trying to get out of the road. So it's really more of an impact-based storm rather than it is just looking at raw numbers. And again, this is something that's going to be impacting us into the evening. We've got those winter weather advisories in effect up and down the Fox Valley, out to the lakeshore until 9 o'clock this evening. That's due to a combination of a couple inches of snow with that wind. So visibility will be bad. Again, the roads are not going to be the best, and there's still plenty of the storm left to go. As we, I'm going to go ahead and skip over to that storm tracker, and you can just see all that snow still lined up back out to our west. This is just a messy map here. It's also got the winter weather advisories and warnings and all that stuff overlaid on it, even though that can be tough to see. But just a ton of moisture with this system. That's really the key to some of these bigger snowstorms, or at least the bigger snowstorm potential is this time of the year. You get more moisture with these storm systems. They're just a little bit milder. They hold a little more water in them, so you get heavier rain. And if you're on the right side of it, you get heavier snow. We just ended up more on the rainy side of this storm. That's why, if you look at our top snowstorms of all time in Green Bay, 4 out of the top 5 were after March 1st. Most of them in the top 10 were also from like February 28th and on later. So just a really impressive trend there. And so this is the time of the year where things are kind of riding that razor edge. You see that closer view shows that most spots have kicked over to snow. Right next to the lake, we are still apparently rain, but I would suspect over the next few hours, we're going to continue to see this colder air start to wrap on in from the east and change that over from rain to snow. I don't know if there were any more topics that I'm not touching. Scott, anything on your mind that you might want to know if you were a viewer that I'm not really touching on here? Or
I would say just, for those of us who, for those viewers who have joined us a little bit later, if you could just maybe run through the forecast for the next 24 hours or so real quickly.
Sure, yeah, all right. So let's head back to that future track. We got that snow that's going to be coming down, and you can see that this is starting at 11:30. Starting now, basically, is where this loop starts. We'll set this in motion. Through your lunch hour, it's going to be snowing, so that's going to be something that you'll see. Again, unless you're maybe right next to the lake, that's where that rain might still be holding on. But by this afternoon, as you're heading home from work or school, I think everyone's changing over to snow. That's snow is still out there around dinner time. This is 5 or 6 o'clock. And then as we move to 8, 9 o'clock, the snow shower's starting to wrap up and move on out of here, but it's going to be very windy through this time frame. So even though this is a very wet, sticky snow, we could still get some blowing snow out there, and that definitely doesn't help conditions on the roads when you also have to contend with that spray and slush coming up. It's getting blown around by the winds. It's just not going to be easy going out there anywhere in northeast Wisconsin. And things do quiet down overnight. I think the winds start to back off a little bit. Skies start to clear out. Thursday looks pretty tranquil, but today is the active day with Winter Storm Daisy pushing through, and I will highlight again those winds because it is actually, take a look at this. Just in the last half hour or so, we've had an update here, and you can see that the visibility in Sheboygan, Manitowoc, Sturgeon Bay, Washington Island has about halved. So what I think that's telling me is that we're starting to see that rain mixing in with some more snow. We're starting to see that transition happening. So I would say even if you've been mostly rain in Sheboygan, Manitowoc, Two Rivers, Kewaunee, Algoma, Sturgeon Bay, you're likely going to start to change over to more snow than anything else over the course of the next hour. And so you're likely going to see more snow than anything moving forward. Now, as we take a look at what the wind gusts are expected to be, that's also the other key to this storm, because we're really looking at some strong winds this afternoon. They're not so bad right now. Most of our wind gusts are around 30, 35 miles per hour. But this afternoon, once we get past about 2 or 3 o'clock, we could see those winds pushing up over 40, maybe up to 45 miles an hour. It's going to be a very, very windy afternoon, which just complicates things if you drive a higher profile vehicle. If you're driving, I would say on any east-west oriented roads especially, you're going to get that wind running across the road. So Highway 10, Highway 54, if you're up over the Northwoods, talking Highway 64, some of those bigger east-west roads, 29, that wind's going to be pretty much coming in across those roadways. So just make sure you're slowing it down on those, especially. The winds do start to back off a little bit overnight tonight. This is now moving past midnight here. Still a little breezy tomorrow, a little bit chillier, but overall not going to be too bad. And that extended forecast, I mean, it looks pretty good if I'm being honest. Once we get past normal Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then as we move from Saturday to Sunday, that's a nice view of Lambo Cam. What is this? Oh, that's an old graphic. Well, either way, what we're going to be seeing is this snow stick with us really through the remainder of the forecast, or through the remainder of the day. You're going to factor in the winds, and the travel conditions will deteriorate quickly as we get through this afternoon. So just make sure you're taking care on the roads. Wouldn't blame you if maybe you wanted to cut the workday off early, head home, try to work from home for the afternoon, things like that, because that changeover has happened, or it's happening right now along the lakeshore. And Winter Storm Daisy, the worst of it, likely going to be through this afternoon. I think that's just about all for me. Scott, anything else you think it might be good to touch on here?
Yeah, I guess I would just say that we are getting some school closures. Keep an eye on that.
Oh, yeah.
Also, it is Ash Wednesday, so check ahead for if you're planning to head to evening services.
That's true. I hate for you to try to get out on those roads only to find out that services were canceled or postponed, things like that. So make sure you double check that, and also take some pictures. We're probably going to see some pretty picturesque. I bet this snow is going to stick nicely to some of the trees out there and some of those tree branches. So we'd love to see your pictures and photos from Winter Storm Daisy. If you don't mind getting out there and braving the wind that we're going to see. But otherwise, just make sure you stay safe, stay bundled up, limit that travel if you can through the afternoon. We are going to be tracking the storm all through the day. We've got Audrey Lee, Patrick Powell. They're both going to be in over the course of this afternoon and late into this evening, tracking that storm, giving you the latest. Audrey's going to likely be out looking at those roads, see how things are going. So this is going to be where you want to be watching for those updates for Winter Storm Daisy. It's Fox 11 online and Fox 11 on air. Thanks a lot, everyone. Stay safe.